Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Let's Talk NRM, our monthly program on natural resource management. This comes to you from MBMA, the Meghalaya Basin Management Agency, under the CLEM program, the Community-Led Landscape Management Project. Our topic of discussion today is an area that Meghalaya is richly and naturally endowed by. And you can guess what we're talking about. It is nature. And there have been a lot of programs to improve or to utilize or to monetize this natural beauty, and that is tourism. But when we talk about tourism today, the buzzword is sustainable tourism. Tourism naturally involves the traveler, his or her interests, the social and economic concerns, and also the concerns of the host community. When all of these aspects are kept in mind and taken care of, only then can we talk about it being sustainable and then sustainable tourism. We have with us today Mr. Cyril V. Diengdoh, our expert, who will enlighten us more on what the government of Meghalaya is doing in terms of sustainable tourism in Meghalaya. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk NRM. And our topic of discussion today is tourism and particularly sustainable tourism. Meghalaya has been tagged as one of the most preferred tourist destinations. Keeping in mind the fact that tourism in Meghalaya is mainly ecotourism, there are dangers of too much footfall with respect to the ecology, the fragile ecology. And again, a lot of footfall also means economic benefits. Where do we draw the red line?
Good morning to you, Mr. Rahul, and to all your viewers. Thank you for having me on the show, first of all. And I think the topic that you spoke about is an important topic that the government also is seriously thinking about, together with the communities who run these tourist locations. We know that tourism has to be a mainstay for the people of Meghalaya, primarily because tourism is a job multiplier. It provides jobs and livelihoods to our stakeholders, our communities who run the tourist spots at the villages, the taxi drivers, the hotel owners, the homestay owners, the tourist guides, the restaurant owners, you name it. It is something that will provide the growth engine for our state in the coming years. And already we are seeing the benefits of tourism in many of our villages where tourism has become a key feature for the development of the village. Recently, you must have heard that Kongthong village in East Khas Hills has been nominated by the Government of India, the Ministry of Tourism, as one of the 3 best rural village tourism locations in the country to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. This is an achievement for the communities there who are primarily promoting culture and tourism. Now, coming to your question, how do we draw the line? We have to look at it from various stakeholders. Obviously, the first stakeholder, like I mentioned, is the community, are the people who have to rely on tourism for their economic development. Having said that, it is imperative that they obviously preserve the natural beauty and the environment for which tourists are coming. If they come to a Kongthong or to a Sora or to a Maulinong or to a Dauki, people are coming to experience nature. They're coming to experience the beauty of the location. And sustainability has to be looked at from the perspective, obviously, of the stakeholder, how they will earn in the long term, and obviously from the perspective of the environment, of the attraction for which people are coming. So if the environment is damaged or destroyed, if the beautiful river of Umngot gets damaged, then what do people come for is the question, which obviously communities also are getting aware. If you look at the Maulinong village model, they have been able to preserve the natural heritage around that village by tourism. So tourism can also incentivize communities to preserve their natural environment. And that is, I think, what is happening now. Definitely the threat to this is over-tourism, where you have too many people coming, too many footfalls. However, this is something that has to be worked very dynamically. Well, how do you define what is too many at one point of time? So last year in 2021, when the COVID pandemic happened and we were reopening tourism, we had a chance to reflect with the communities in the government, in the tourism department, to look at what can be the key principles that can define tourism going forward. We came up with 3 broad principles. One is, you define the carrying capacity of a location, because if a place is too crowded, then the experience of the tourists also doesn't happen that way, because tourists want to see the beauty of the place. They don't want to come to a crowded location. So we told the tourist locations, please define your carrying capacity. What is the carrying capacity at any one point of time for which tourists will have a beautiful experience without overcrowding? First principle. Second principle, right pricing. And right pricing is also linked to carrying capacity, because if you price your product correctly, then you are able to attract those kind of tourists. Exactly. And right pricing means many things. It can also mean that if you have a tourist location, and some tourist locations, I'll give you an example of caves. Some of our caves are beautiful, but what is happening is tourists enter the caves and they write their names, they put graffiti, and these are caves which belong to the history of mankind, I would say, because they have fossil remains, they have remains of when this region was under the ocean millions of years ago, etc. So that can happen only through education and through awareness. So if these kind of locations can have tourist guide only, as an option or as a default option, so therefore the tourist has to pay for the entry and the tourist guide, and therefore you are able to regulate pricing and carrying capacity at the same time. And the last principle, of course, was zero waste, because the threat to sustainability and threat to the beauty of a location is not only in the footfall, but in the waste that a tourist brings to that location, plastic primarily. Can we have a strategy where a tourist does not bring any waste to the tourist spot, so that the tourist spot doesn't have to look at waste management, primarily where you reduce the waste by not bringing in waste, and that will also promote responsible tourism, because the responsibility for sustainable tourism has to start from the communities, start from the environment, but also primarily rests with the tourist who's visiting the location. If they are aware that they are responsible for maintaining the beauty of the location, where they don't litter, they don't deface, they don't do graffiti, they respect the culture of that location, respect the sanctity and the beauty of that location, then it becomes a win-win model for all, and with minimum cost you are able to ensure these principles. The best example is Montflanc Sacred Grove, because you have an age-old tradition that you're not supposed to take in anything there or take out anything from the Montflanc Sacred Grove. So I'm sure tourists definitely then who go into the Sacred Grove don't take in anything or don't take out anything, and therefore the littering aspect is already taken care of, which can beautifully be incorporated in all our other tourist locations. So we have many models for which we can learn from, and to answer your question, the government is thinking seriously in terms of how to bring all these principles into some guidelines. We are working on a new tourism policy and a strategy, for which we have undertaken a lot of stakeholder consultation. This will be coming out in a few months' time, which will again go to the public domain, and this policy and strategy will definitely incorporate some of these key principles, and look at how we can incentivize communities to ensure that these principles become the foundational principles for tourism management in our tourist locations.
That's wonderful. I mean, all the policies that the government is going to take and the ideas and all the discussions is at one level. How does the incoming tourist get to know of these expectations from them? So how is that gap going to be bridged?
So today's tourists, they do a lot of homework, I would say, before they go to a location. We have redeveloped our website. It has a lot of information in terms of what a tourist can go to, what is expected, etc. We are also coming up with packages that look at experiential tourism. And experiential covers almost a 360 view of things. You experience the tourist location, you experience the culture of the place, you experience the stories and the folklore around that place, and when you experience that, you also have a responsibility towards ensuring that all these aspects of the location are respected. So, today's tourists, I would say, are people who are getting much more mature in terms of what is expected from that place also. And definitely, if we have to customize our products and give this experiential tourism, we need tourist guides. The tourist guide would become the person who would be guiding the tourists and who would understand and tell the tourists that, look, this is what is expected. Awareness through website, through social media, through our videos, etc., of looking at how we should be able to promote responsible tourism. We have in the past conducted workshops with a lot of stakeholders, including homestay owners, including other stakeholders in Meghalaya, to promote this aspect of sustainable and responsible tourism, because these concepts are two sides of the same coin, right? And tourists have this responsibility towards the location they visit also. So this can happen multiple ways. It can happen also through, we are doing capacity building of tourist taxi drivers. You might have heard we're coming up with a scheme where we will be providing incentives for tour operators, for entrepreneurs to purchase good quality luxury vehicles. And these will have trained taxi drivers who will actually function as tourist guides also. So they will have a responsibility towards telling the tourist about what is expected of them when they visit a certain tourist location. In fact, they will have a lot of signages and apps within this taxi where you will be told that you should not be littering, right, at a location. That is one way of doing it, through awareness, through responsible management. The other way, of course, is where we have been, in the past, through the Office of the Deputy Commissioner. The DCs have been coming out with various orders under Section 144 of the CRPC, prohibiting littering in tourist locations, places like golf links, places like Elephant Falls, etc. So that if you litter, you pay the fine. That's the other way of, the punitive way of regulating tourist locations. So there are various strategies, and going forward, definitely the Office of the Deputy Commissioner, the important stakeholders in the district, the key line departments, the district tourism officer, the key tour operators, the key hotel owners, we are planning to, come up with guidelines where they will be institutionalized as a society, a district tourism promotion society, so that there is a mechanism to address these issues of littering, of waste management, of local issues which may come up in any tourist location, in consultation, in a cooperative manner, in a much more institutionalized manner, so that issues can be addressed at the local level.
The other area of concern when we talk about sustainable tourism is the host community, and taking care of their interests and protecting them is an area that is of concern when we talk of sustainable tourism. What is the government planning to, or how is the government going about in ensuring that they remain protected?
Because Meghalaya is unique in various aspects, and the uniqueness of each region, the Khasi Hills, the Jaintia Hills, the Garo Hills, in terms of what it can offer for a tourist, is unique. Therefore, what we are planning to do is, and we are already doing it, is promote these unique aspects, right? In terms of having much more accommodation units in many of these villages, in many of the key tourist locations. Because unless you have stay units, how does a person come to a tourist location, stay a night or many nights, and then learn about the culture, about the communities, about the unique aspects of tourism in that location? Otherwise, it becomes a day trip for other tourists. So recently, you might have heard that through the externally aided project, almost 750 crore project from the New Development Bank, the government of Meghalaya through the tourism department will be implementing this externally aided project, where a lot of investments will come in various locations like Kongthong, like Darang, and many other villages in the Khasi, Jaintia and the Garo Hills, which will focus on building these accommodation units. These will be built and they'll be managed and owned by the communities in terms of the operation and management. And linked to this will be different aspects of capacity building, where the key aspects will also be obviously that you need to showcase the culture and the uniqueness of that location. That will be the defining product which the tourist comes for. So each location will have a unique USP. Kongthong will have its whistling village. A village like Umden will showcase its silk, its weaving culture. A village like Darang on the banks of the Umngot River will obviously showcase the river ecology of how the river and the people of that village coexist in terms of preserving the beauty of the river and the beautiful treks, the living root bridges along the Rewar area.
What about dances and music? Like there are many places in India where we go to, in evenings there are shows like that.
Yes.
Cultural dances, cultural music of that region, of that locality. Are these also being planned?
These are also being planned. Places like Sora will have, a small heritage village, and the heritage village is not to only to see, the types of architecture or the culture in terms of static, displays, but evenings where there will be a lot of musical performances. Recently, the tourism department also launched the Meghalaya Grassroots Music Project, where a lot of musical talent. We are known as a rock capital, and we are known for our musical talent. But the feedback that we got from a lot of tourists was, we don't have a defined calendar. We do not know on this day, if I come to Shillong or to any other part of the state, what is the musical calendar? Who's playing? Is it a local band? Is it Lou Majao? Where are they playing? And how do we get entry? So this calendar has already come out. It's on our social media. It's on the website. And this is to make musical, the talent of the region accessible to all. A kind of tourism that will also promote the musical talent.
The other area that we want to discuss today is niche areas of tourism. One is ecotourism or nature tourism, but Meghalaya has the potential for niche areas in tourism. What are those niche areas that the government is looking at and trying to capture that niche market?
So ecotourism is one, as you mentioned. Although it is our USP, it has not been sufficiently captured in the sense that people still come to the main destinations.
Right.
They don't go to villages to stay there. And Maulinong gave a great model of how a location can also be a destination, a stay destination. Today, a lot of tourists are staying in Sora. They don't stay in Shillong because Sora has many places to stay today. 10 years ago, Sora was a day trip destination. People would, even carry food from Shillong or from elsewhere and go to Sora and come back, because there were hardly few restaurants, etc. Today, people stay there, they eat there, they do everything there.
What about just, let's say, tourism for caving or hang gliding? Are these being looked at?
Correct. Recently in Kharkuta, in North Garo Hills district, we had the first Meghalaya National Paragliding Accuracy Championship, where paragliders came and we did paragliding. These are beautiful locations for adventure tourism. In the Khasi Hills, similarly, we are working with other associations, the Meghalaya Paragliding Association, who are promoting paragliding. We are supporting them to undertake paragliding activities. First, in terms of capacity building of people who will be trainers, who will be the people who will run these paragliding, and then in a much more short term and medium term to promote it as a niche tourism product. So these are the things that are happening. Caving is correct. You mentioned we have some of the longest caves in the world, and caving is something that we have been actively promoting. We have the Meghalaya Adventurers Association, which looks at caving, as a niche sport. It has been doing its part. We've been supporting them. Definitely, we can make caving a much more organized activity in terms of marketing, in terms of a calendar, activity within the circuit of Meghalaya tourism. Like these months, you can come for caving, and these are the people you need to do to. So that also we are working upon, like how we did with the music. So we have been working with these tour operators, and we're looking to encourage them further to ensure that these products are much more publicized, they are made customized to different kind of tourists, and they find a regular feature on the tourism calendar, so that it becomes a regular product where tourists know that if I come during this month, I can get this product.
Tell us a success story from the tourism sector.
There are many success stories, I would say, because there are different models of success in terms of, I think the key part is that communities today have realized the value of tourism. We know that land and natural resources, to a lot of tourist locations are owned by communities. They're not owned by the government. They are coming forward and saying that please help us in promoting tourism. Please help us in ensuring that tourism becomes one of the key drivers of growth in the village economy, for which we require certain kind of investments. The key success story that comes to my mind because of the recognition received recently, I'll give two names, is one obviously Dauki Shnongpadeng, where today that has become on the bucket list of everyone. The Honorable Prime Minister mentioned it in his Mann Ki Baat. Everyone is talking about this cleanest water, right? The cleanest river in a way in Asia. and people are going there. That's one. The other two would be a small village like Kong Thong, which has been able to showcase its culture to the world, and that has become a unique USP in a way to attract tourism. They have been over the years, through their cooperative society, the village cooperative society, promoting tourism through homestays, making traditional huts where people can stay and experience culture, not something that is imported from outside. So the architecture also is unique to that village. These are what tourists are looking for, and therefore through this external project that I mentioned earlier, we are looking to scale up the investment in that village so that definitely more tourists can come in and stay there, and it can become a source of income for the people, for the cooperative society, and for the people of that village.
Wonderful talking to you, and I'm sure a lot of the people and the communities who still are on the edge, so to speak, whether to invest in tourism, whether to go towards ecotourism or not, they would be able to take a decision and move towards tourism. Thank you so much for all the elaborations and all the efforts that Government of Meghalaya is taking and telling the community about it. Wonderful talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
You just heard the Managing Director of the Meghalaya Tourism Development Corporation, Mr. Cyril V. Diengdoh, elaborate on the plans and programs of the Government of Meghalaya as far as tourism is concerned. What was heartening to listen to is the fact that communities from different parts of Meghalaya are coming forward and asking for help from the government so that the tourism potential of their locales can be utilized. But what remains a concern is that overutilization and therefore the focus on sustainable tourism. That must be the buzzword of tourism in Meghalaya. Once that is taken care of, then tourism in Meghalaya can bring in a lot of economic benefits. We'll see you again next month with another edition of Let's Talk NRM, our monthly program on natural resource management. This came to you from MBMA, the Meghalaya Basin Management Agency, under the CLEM program, the Community-Led Landscape Management Project.